Hey, I am in my forest. I'm walking on our trails, getting some exercise. I am making a video and I'm observing what's going on in our forest. Okay. This is one of the very, very few contexts in which multitasking works. Okay. It almost never works for me, nor does it work for most people. So that's not what I'm advocating here, but getting things done. We're on day 21 here. And Getting Things Done is a book. It's called Getting Things Done, Stress-Free Productivity. Okay, it is written by David Allen, and it has been transformational in my life. It's not a book that I've just read a few times. I have implemented the system and the practice of getting things done. So it's a methodology. So first, let me just tell you what it is. Okay, so it's obviously a methodology of a work-life system of productivity, okay, of stress-free productivity. And I'm here to tell you that when it is working well, when you are clicking on getting things done methodology, it is stress-free. It lowers the stress significantly, I'll put it that way. There's obviously a lot to it, and you should definitely get the book, read the book. I'm going to put a link, and it's something that I really recommend that you check out. At the very least, you check it out and read the book and see what you think, okay? Because most people could stand for the ability to increase their productivity, and especially in a manner that is stress-free, or significantly lower stress. One of the phrases he uses in his book is, he says, we want to develop a mind like water. Okay, so he takes this from the martial arts field, where we have this mind like water. And what he means by mind like water, oh hey, look at that, there's an old stump right there, an old cedar stump right there. I mean, perfect for knife throwing. Okay, that's kind of observations that I'm trying to make here. So a mind like water means that water adapts, right? It seeks its own level, but it is also fluid, right? And it adapts to its surroundings. It responds perfectly, right? You throw a rock into water, it ripples, but then it smooths out. Okay, you have waves that crash on the shore, but then they come back out, and they crash on the shore and they come back out, and they respond perfectly to the forces that cause those waves in the first place, or like I said, the ripple on the lake or the pond. And so that we would develop a mind like water, meaning that we are fluid but steady, that we're able to react, and we react in just the right way in order to respond to all of those forces that are coming at us from the world. Okay, so this is what he means by a mind like water. Now, I would like you to put in the comments below if you've heard of Getting Things Done, if you've read the book, or if you have ideas like what productivity system do you follow. Maybe you follow a specific system. That would be really interesting to know. So do me a favor and do that. Drop a comment and below on that. Now, let's get back to getting things done. Again, there's a lot to it, and it's surprisingly simple in the big picture, but getting started and learning it takes some effort. But there's 5 major steps. Okay, 5 major steps to the getting things done methodology. The first step is capture. Okay, capture. You capture all the things that are going on around you. Like, so what are the things that come at us, right? Phone calls come at us, text messages, email, Facebook messages, whatever. All those things come at us. We get demands from our boss. Okay, we have our own personal projects that we want to work on. We have things that we want to do, things that we want to accomplish. We have all of our own goals, hopefully. And that's a lot to capture. And so we have to have a system in order to do that well. Because when we just try and keep it all in our mind, how well does that work out? Okay, just this tree dropped this winter, and it's a Doug fir, so it make good firewood. But it also makes, like, I'm going to show you this. Okay, this tree just fell behind me right there. It's a Doug fir. Excellent firewood, but also a certain amount of trees and things that drop on our property we leave in place because it's good for the soil. When they break down over time, it's good for wildlife, it's good for the biology of the soil, and it's good for the forest in general. Okay, back to capture. We want to capture things and be able to put them into a system where we don't forget them, right? Because here's the truth about human beings. We are really good and creative. Okay, we're creative. We come up with ideas, and we're mulling over, you know, what to do and how to do it and what's the best approach, and we're good at that stuff. So we're good at, like, what's going on today, and you know, how best can I accomplish that. What we're terrible at is recall. We're terrible at recall, and therefore we need a system to be able to capture all of those inputs that are coming in, and then to be able to deal with them, right? So capturing all those things, like it's bringing them all into one gate and then being able to deal with them. After capture, we have to process. Okay, so we have this clearinghouse for all of our email, our text messages, our phone calls, our voicemails, our mail, all of this. Now we have to process it. And we can start with a couple of key questions. One is it actionable? Right? We have so much input coming in. Is it actionable? Does it require you to do something? Okay, so there's two answers, yes or no. Okay, first of all, no. Let's say you get text messages. Is it actionable? No, it's just information or whatever that I already know, and it's already dealt with or whatever. So I can discard it, right? I can just delete it, or I can put it into a reference system, okay? A reference system, okay? So is it actionable, yes or no, right? And we'll get to kind of how to do that and what to do with that in a minute. The next thing you need to ask yourself is, will it take, and this is called the 2-minute rule, will it take 2 minutes or less? Okay, will it take 2 minutes or less? You get that text message that comes in. Is it actionable? Yes, it is actionable, but it's Bob asking me if I got, you know, what he sent over to me. It takes 2 minutes or less. I'm gonna respond to it now. Okay, that's called the 2-minute rule. If it takes 2 minutes or less, do it. Do it right now. Respond. Yes, Bob, I got it. Thank you very much. Okay, you're done. All right, you're done. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people will do is they'll get something, and it will only take 2 minutes or less. But they're like, okay, I'll respond to that later. Well, what happens? Now your brain's going, oh, I got to remember that. I got to make sure that I file that away, even though I have a bad memory, and human beings are not designed for recall very, very well. And we deal with it. That's because that's a mistake. So 2-minute rule, do it now, okay? And if you get nothing else from that book but the 2-minute rule, it's well worth the cost of the book. I assure you that, okay? If you get good at it, okay? It takes some work to be able to get good at it. All right, so the 2-minute rule, is it actionable, yes or no? Okay, now we come from capture, process, now organize. So capture, process, organize. We need to ask ourselves some more quick questions, right? So we've dealt with some things right off the bat. So we've captured it all, we've processed it, right? There's actionable and not actionable. And if it's not actionable, we can discard it, we can reference it. Now we got to deal with all those actionable items. Okay, again, These are the projects you want to work on. These are the demands from your work. These are all the text messages, the emails, the voicemails, all of that. Now we organize it. One thing that we take when we look at every single item, we do one item at a time, because again, multitasking, we're not really good at it. And we ask ourselves this question: what is the next action? What is the next physical action? Is it, because a lot of times we'll say things like call Bob, right? Now it could be that the next physical action is call Bob on a particular item, and that's fine. But maybe you don't even have Bob's number. So really the next physical action is obtain contact information for Bob. Okay, or here's what a lot of people do is they'll put on a list, they'll put bank. It's like, well, bank, what is that, right? You come to this list a couple days later and you're like, bank, what was I supposed to do at the bank again? And now you got to go through this process of determining what the next action is. And maybe it was set up a bank or a savings account for my daughter, or deposit some checks, right? So the next action is deposit checks at the bank. Okay, that's key. It really is key. It's a huge difference between just putting bank and depositing checks. Okay, so that's one aspect of this. What is the next action? Now we have to get creative. And a good way to do this is we group things appropriately. Okay, and you're gonna get creative on how you do this. You're gonna do what works for you. But a good way to do it is you have projects, you have things that are time bound, and you have things that are context bound. Okay, these are things that can help you group things and be able to organize, right? Because that's what we're doing. So for example, a project. And in his book, he defines a project as anything that requires more than one action. Okay, it's a pretty broad way to classify projects, which is totally fine. So we have our project list. Okay, you're gonna sweep your mind, sweep all the inputs, and process it, and then create a project list. Okay, and then you're gonna have your next actions list. Okay, next actions list, which could be context based, right? These are phone calls I need to make, emails I need to send, things I need to buy at the store, etc. Right, so you're creating that next actions list. Now let's talk about a calendar, because calendars are great, but what has happened is a lot of people will use calendars as to-do lists. And calendars don't work very well as to-do lists. Calendars work extremely well as a hardscape. They are the things that are, they're fixed. There's things that have to be done at this day and this time, okay? Or things that need to be done on this day. And if you protect that and not just add a bunch of stuff as a to-do list, your calendar will become more valuable to you. And it's something that you can, when you review, you see the hardscape things that need to get done. Otherwise, it all just becomes noise. So with that organization, project time context, we have to determine when we're going to do certain things. And the reality is this is a difficult part. there's no magic here. It's prioritization and determining what is going to give you the most bang for the buck. Okay, I always recommend doing the Pareto analysis on this kind of stuff and go, what 20% of these things are going to get me 80% of the way there where I want to go, or the furthest down the road. So that's a good tip for you. But as we look at these things, we obviously know that the calendars that's fixed, right? That's going to tell us when things need to get done, you know, that are part of that hardscape. And then we have our projects, and we have all of our other things that we're trying to organize here. And whatever you do, okay, whatever lists, project list, next actions list, calendar, always answer the question, what is the next action? Okay, so it's, you know, if it's on your calendar and you know you have a client that you're meeting with on Zoom, then the next action is to meet with that client. But I mean, obviously, you know, with that contact information. If you don't have the contact information, the next action is obtain client's contact information. Okay. Projects list. You know, I want to build a cold climate greenhouse. In fact, I'm in the process of designing and prepping that, which is a major project. But the initial step was research cold climate designs. That was the next action, right? So I can put on a projects list of cold climate greenhouse, research cold climate design. I mean, right? I don't need to list right now. I don't need to list out every single step. I don't have to do that detailed project planning. I just need a projects list with whatever the next action is. Same thing with your next actions list. Things start coming in. You write them down, but you don't write them down as in bank or store. It's, you know, deposit check in business account, or here's the context of things to buy, and you have maybe it's grocery store, Amazon, and whatever else. Okay, that's how you organize this kind of stuff. And then the other thing is, if this thing requires action, but not right now, or these are things that you're really interested in, but it's not going to happen right now, you can do a couple things. One is you can create a, what he calls in getting things done, a someday maybe list. Okay, you can have a list that says someday maybe, and that's, you know, is learn Bob Ross painting, you know, build cold climate greenhouse, right? These are things that you want to do someday, but it's just, I can't go on your list, these, you know, your main list right now, because it's just going to sit there for months and months. So there's nothing wrong with a someday maybe list. You can also, this is one more way to utilize your calendar. You could take that and say like, hey, I want to take a Bob Ross painting seminar, but that's not happening right now. But I want to put 3 months from now, I want to put a calendar event, and it's going to say research Bob Ross painting seminars. Now you may come to that 3 months and go, oh, look at that. I'm gonna, oh, but you know what? We're still in lockdown or whatever. So I can't do anything about that. So I'm gonna push it another 3 months, whatever the case may be. That's a good way to do these items that are deferred, really, and pushing them out so that you're not gonna forget them. Because again, we're good at being creative. We're terrible at recall. And that's what we want to do is one of the best ways that I like to explain this is that you're building an external mind. Because again, we're not so great at recall. We're really good at context and creativity in the moment, right? We're pretty good at figuring out what do I need to do today and how best to go about doing that. But not good about going, well, hey, what's my life look like over the next 2 weeks? Okay, everything we talked about up to this point when it comes to capture, process, organize, now we come to review. This is a critical step, and I talked about this in my last video. I talked about the idea of systems over will. Getting things done methodology is a system. It's an excellent system, and it is much better than just trying to keep things bouncing around in your head and figuring out what to do. This is how a lot of people operate. They literally just fly by the seat of their pants and try and remember everything that they're supposed to do. Not a good plan. Okay, so review, this is critical. And again, systems-based approach, at least weekly, you're sitting down at the same time in the same place and you're reviewing your getting things done methodology. You're reviewing your projects list. You're reviewing your next actions list. You're looking at your calendar for the coming week. You're putting things on the calendar that need to go there. You're doing an assessment. You're looking back and you're going, how did I do this last week? What things need to, what calendar items that were supposed to be done didn't get done, and I need to push those forward. So again, this is the catch, because we're not all going to get it perfectly. We're not going to have perfect productivity. It's not going to happen. And the more important piece here is the system of productivity, the system that's going to allow you to capture and remember, because you don't have to do it in your brain, the things that you need to do. Okay, so review. Now, I also recommend, it's definitely a weekly review. This is that's gold. A daily quick in the morning. This is how I like to do it. And a lot of people will say, like, the night before, make your to-do list, blah blah blah. That just doesn't work for me. I don't know why. It just doesn't. What does work for me is having my morning routine and then sitting down and reviewing the things that I need to do today, to include looking at it, okay, those lists, reviewing them and going, what are the most important things that I could do today, this morning, right now? Okay, and push those things forward. What's my most important project right now? And how can I push it forward even just a little bit right now? Okay, review. Okay, so there's the weekly review and the daily review. And then you can add to that whatever you want. There's something great about getting away, and my wife and I have done this. We've gotten away for a couple days, literally gotten away for a couple days, and we literally planned out our year. What are our goals for the year? What are we trying to accomplish? What are the most important things that we're trying to do? Okay, so kind of like an annual retreat that's based around figuring out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. All right, and you can you can do quarterly planning or monthly planning, whatever works for you to do it. But as far as your day-to-day grind, at the very least, it's a weekly review, and I really recommend a daily, quick planning trip, which should not be making lists, because you have a running projects list, next actions list, someday maybe lists. You have those running lists. Okay, what you're really doing is sitting down and going, okay, do I need to do a quick mind sweep? What else needs to go on these lists? What things have I accomplished that I can cross off? Things like that. Okay, so review is really critical. And the final step, which I've already kind of started touching on, is to engage, right? It's to engage with those lists, not just review those lists on a daily or weekly occurrence. It is to get things done, to actually get it done. But you know what? When you're organized, when your mind is clear, you know that everything is laid down in lists somewhere. You are going to be reminded of what you need to do. You don't have to worry about, I have to get back with Bob. Why? Because it's already in your system. It's already either in your calendar, that's going to come up because you're going to view it every day. And you know that your lists are fine. You don't need to worry about the cold climate greenhouse project right now, because in your weekly review, it's going to come up and you're going to be able to decide whether or not right now is the time for the next actions. You're not going to worry about, I really want to take that Bob Ross painting seminar, because it's in your calendar 3 months from now. It's going to pop up, and because you have a system and your external mind is going to take care of you. That's the real beauty of all of this, because again, most of us, I'm no exception, I've done this, but I fight to get better and better at getting things done. We walk around and we try and remember everything that we need to do, literally. I mean, I see it all the time, and again, I've been no different at many points in my life, but I have worked really hard worked really hard at being able to improve that. There's one piece that I didn't mention. Oh wow, that's definitely moose right there, moose poop. One of the beautiful things is having a waiting for list. Okay, you got to add this, a waiting for list. Okay, so that as you engage and you do things, or you defer or delegate things, you need a waiting for list. This is key. This has been transformational for me. This one thing has been transformational for me as an executive. Whenever I'm either tasking someone with something, or I have done something for somebody else, but I'm waiting on a response. Maybe it was like, hey, is the work that I did good enough, or do I need to do more work on it, or do I need some further guidance? Do I need, whatever the case may be. So I have a waiting for list. Okay, I'm waiting for a response from so-and-so about the project that I submitted. Okay, I asked so-and-so for some information, so I'm waiting for so-and-so to provide me with that information. That's a daily review as well. So again, it's project lists, it's next actions list, it's waiting for lists. And then again, maybe that weekly or monthly or annually is when you take a look at the someday maybe list. Okay, because those are important too. Those are usually things that we really want to do, but we can't do them right now. All right, I'm going to end right there, and I think that gives you a good overview of getting things done. The book, Stress-Free Productivity. And I'm here to tell you one last thing, is that it really is transformational, and I really have become a whole lot more productive. I get a lot more done, and most importantly, I get it done without a lot of worry and stress. Okay, that's the real beauty of this system. So I really recommend you do it. Please hit like if you got something from this video, subscribe, leave me a comment, tell me what things you got out of it. Tell me some of your tips, your suggestions, and I'd love to hear from you on that. Okay, so this is day 21 in the books, and I'm completing this self-sufficiency series. I hope you got a lot out of it, and I hope that you're taking action. Okay, what is the next action?